Good evening and welcome to the State of the Nation on AsphericTV. My name is Ayolua Joshua, and today you're watching the State of the Nation. The State of the Nation is a program initiated by the Aspheric TV to enable individuals, international organizations, agencies, government parastatals, and private sectors to highlight their achievements and plans in their various industries and to discuss how their plans affect Nigerians. Our viewers can interact with us on Facebook at Official Aspheric News, on Twitter at Aspheric News, on Instagram at aspheric.news, on YouTube Aspheric TV, and please do subscribe to our YouTube channel for more programs. Also send us SMS on ideas and opinions concerning our discussion, just like we will be discussing today on 08099990549. Our guest today is Chief Christy Oby Ndukwe. She is the president and founder of Citizens Quest for Truth Initiative, and she will be speaking with us on transparency and accountability in governance. You are welcome to the program.
Thank you, Joshua Ayolua. Thank you for having me on your program.
Yes, you're welcome. And how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. It could be better, but I'm fine. Thank you.
As an activist, an advocate for good governance, and from your profile, we found out that you are the founder and president of Citizens Quest for Truth Initiative. Can you
Yeah.
tell us the mandate of the organization and how you manage it?
Well, Citizens Quest for Truth Initiative is an advocacy group is an advocacy group. It concerns itself with holding government, accountable. So basically, of course, we are registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and our mandate is such that we identify good leadership, those who are doing well in government offices, government positions, and then we try as much as possible to speak up and let the world know, the citizens know what they are doing. We are also like a bridge between the citizens and the government. We speak for the people because oftentimes some of the people that are elected get to the assembly, whether state or national, and they seem to forget the mandate given to them by the people. So we go to the grassroots, to the locals, to the natives, to the citizens, and we try to find out what their challenges are, and we become their voice and then speak up. Actually, Citizens Quest, the idea was conceived with the advent of what will I call it advent, social media that has given rise to the fake news syndrome. A lot of people have become journalists overnight that they don't even understand the ethics of the profession. People don't bother to investigate facts and they just put out things. Somebody comes and says, Mr. Joshua, who is the minister for this, is corrupt, and everybody begins to trend the story. So for us, we say, let us actually go and find out. Is it true that Mr. A, Mr. B has actually done this? And when we started our advocacy, we realized that even some of the things that are being said about some of these government officials are not very correct. So there's a lot of misinformation out there in public domain. So we try to groom our members, our team. We have teams in the different states, not all the states for now, though, because you can't take all at the same time. So we try to groom them in this leadership thing where they begin to understand that if you must be, for instance, a reporter, or you get involved in anything journalism, whether social media or mainstream, you should be able to get your source to give you correct information. You need to step up. Don't sit at home with your phones, with your laptop, and begin to trend stories against people without verifying. And the reason is simple. I, particularly as a person, has been a victim of fake news. So for me, knowing that some of the things said about me, they are not true, I can imagine what is being said about other persons, particularly those in government. There's this tendency for people to abhor anything government. Once the person is outside a government position, people don't want to, they believe that you are corrupt. So we try to set up this in order for us to go out there beyond the comfort of our rooms, our homes, to find out what government is actually doing. We verify, we search for the truth, and we verify, we see things for ourselves. We don't believe in handouts. You don't come and quote figures for us or tell us Mr. A is doing well, he has put a transformer in this community. We want to go there and see the transformer. We want to go there and ask the people, find out from them if it is actually true that they didn't have a transformer and suddenly this transformer has come. So it's like a bridge between the citizens and the government. So that is basically what Citizens Quest for Truth is all about. We are incorporated with the CAC. We have our certificates. We have our board of trustees, and we have all our ESCO, both at the national and at the states. For now, we have our members in the 9 states of the Niger Delta, not because we are Niger Delta based, but because that's where we started our advocacy even before we got officially registered. So we are moving from Niger Delta to other regions of the country. We are also getting invitations from different quarters, to come and help them, speak for them. Even the government sometimes, the MGAs, they can't tell their stories. It's part of the fact that they have the corporate affairs department. Sometimes those appointments are made based on who knows who. So they don't really get the best. So we now act as a bridge and speak for them to say, look, this is the reason why Mr. A is not able to do this, because probably the budget he has made has not been passed, has not been approved, or has been slashed by the National Assembly. And this is the reason why this is so. So it helps to tell the story and correct the whatever perceived impression people have, against them. We also, like I said, tell the story of the people. Where there are bad roads, where the people need emergency attention, we also draw the different agencies of government, draw their attention to them and say, look, you need to move. So that's basically what we do as Citizens Quest.
Thank you very much. Tell us the motivation behind the Citizens Quest and what has Citizens Quest achieved so far?
Well, like I said, the motivation is because we want to know the truth. There's a lot of falsehood everywhere. So when I had my newspaper, when I set it up, the motto is separating the truth from falsehood, because there's a lot of falsehood, and the reason is because people don't have time, don't even have the passion or the patience to go and verify. So they just dole out any information, and the public, a lot of illiterate people, a lot of ignorant people, so they just take in whatever they read, because in our country they don't censor what is digital like in some other countries, UAE, North Korea, and some other places, so people just dish out. There's this recklessness. So, but since we are not in government to do this, I mean, to control this, we can actually play our part by, doing it right, getting it right. So far so good. We've within a period of 1 year officially, because I told you we started even before we got registered. We've achieved quite a lot in drawing the attention of government to certain areas where the citizens need help, and also showcasing what government has been able to do. Like I said, most times they are not able to tell their story because even the people are not ready to listen. So we are able to, go there. And when the people see us physically present, they see us on site, on the road project, on the whatever water project, electricity project, interviewing people, they believe it, because this is the period where people are looking for visuals more than the or the audio or whatever that is dished out on the print media. So we are there and we are telling the story unadulterated. We are doing live reports. We are interviewing live. It is not going to be in any way edited to suit anybody's purpose. Whatever they say, we put it out like that. And like I said, we've achieved quite a lot. Starting with the Niger Delta, for instance, we have some agencies, that are responsible for the development of the region. Why did we start with Niger Delta? Because that is the region that has sustained the economy of this country since 1956, when oil was first struck at Oloibiri in the present day Bayelsa State. So we decided that, look, we need to find out whether what they are getting is commensurate with what is being taken from them. So we started visiting some of those agencies, particularly the Niger Delta Development Commission, and which is supervised by the Ministry of Niger Delta. These two basically are responsible for the other agencies. You have the Niger Delta Development, what do you call it? The one for the water. You have the Ministry of Environment. You also have even the works, because the roads, the federal roads, also have to traverse through the region too. We also have others, but we started this one because they have a mandate to develop, to assist and support the Ministry of Niger Delta to develop the region. So we were able to showcase some of the achievements of the past board of NDDC, particularly during the period of Professor Brambaefa. We did the much we could because, like I always say, even with the Freedom of Information Act, it's still difficult to get certain information from government officials. So what we did is going to show what we saw. We weren't able to put it side by side with what they received because it's not easy for you to access their books. We are not a watchdog per se. We are not a financial institution that goes to check whether what they received is justly used. No, but the interest is, this road that leads from here to here, is it in bad shape? Has it been fixed? And then we go and fix. So now it's left for the EFCC, the ICPC, the NFIU, and the rest of them to verify, the auditors to verify if the road is supposed to cost so amount. Ours is, the important thing to us is the citizens, to make sure that at least they have access to the basic needs of life, like water, electricity, good roads, health, schools, and all that. And all these are found in the act setting up the Niger Delta Development Commission. We were able to draw their attention to certain projects that have been left abandoned. I give you an example: the East-West Road. It has become, before now, a scandalous project. It was established it was President Obasanjo who awarded that contract for the first time in 2006. And this is a road that passes through about 6 states, linking the east to the west, particularly from the Niger Delta axis, and part of it was executed during Obasanjo's time under Tony Anini, but that was under Ministry of Works. But when President Yaradua came, he moved it from Ministry of Works and set up the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. And unfortunately, it's been moving at a snail speed. Sometime during the tenure of President Goodluck Jonathan, I think the then governor of Rivers State, Right Honorable Chibike Rotimi Amechi, had a spat with the Minister of Niger Delta then, Orubebe, over the neglect of that road. Our people were dying and all that, so that eventually they later reconciled their differences, and that also made government to do the needful, release the funds, and some measure of success was recorded by virtue of fixing the road. Under Jonathan, we had the Shopee, and so funds were coming from Shopee. It was like a special intervention fund. being used to fix that road. But since Jonathan left in 2015, we haven't seen much work being done on that road. And the worst part of it is that some sections of the road, like the Mboluru Mibo section, the Rumudara section, the Mbiama section, became dilapidated. They began to deteriorate. There were issues, of flooding and all that. So we had to draw attention of the minister for Niger Delta. That was when Senator Akpabio became the minister, and we had Festus Keyamo as the Minister for State. We visited Festus Keyamo. We later visited Akpabio, and then we made inquest. We found out that the road had been moved from Ministry of Niger Delta to what we call the PIDF. PIDF is the Presidential Infrastructural Development Fund. It's like a sovereign wealth fund. You used to hear sovereign wealth fund, in the past. So it was set up by government, and there was a presidential committee in 2017, headed by the present Minister for Transportation, Chibika Amechi, and the Minister for Works, Fashola. And they went round and then came up with a report, a recommendation that the road should be moved to the PIDF, that is being managed by Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, NSIA. The idea was for quick intervention because budgetary allocation to Ministry of Niger Delta was too poor. So it was difficult to get the road fast-tracked. So that wisdom in moving it alongside 4 other critical projects to PIDF also helped. But unfortunately, even when the president, as a result of their recommendation, approved the release of about 20 billion, I think 19.7 billion to the PIDF, they were supposed to pay the contractors what we call historical debts, debts that had accumulated. That money was kept for 3 years. For 3 years, that money was kept. We went to PIDF, we wrote them, we went severally. They didn't respond. They didn't reply our mails, our letters, and they refused to talk to us. So out of frustration and determination and resilience, we moved to fight to see the Minister for Niger Delta Affairs. It wasn't easy. That was after several visits, flying from Port Harcourt to Abuja, staying in the hotel with my team and all that. But we eventually had access to the minister, and we presented the report, we presented the case, and he said the same thing, that the project is not under his ministry. So we insisted that as Niger Deltas and as Nigerians, that he, having been a governor and a development expert, a transformation expert, he knows what it means. He should replicate what he did in Akwa Ibom in the Niger Delta. That Nigerians are full of expectations. He cannot fail. And that Nigerians do not know that this road is not under his ministry. So we encourage him to write the president to request that this road be moved back to his ministry. Yes, we understand the challenges of budgetary provision, funding, yes, but we are not stopping there. Graciously, he wrote and the president approved it and ordered that the road be moved back to the Ministry of Niger Delta, and that the about 20 billion, which had been lying in the bank for 3 years, should be moved through the Ministry of Finance to the Ministry of Niger Delta, so that they can pay the contractors their historical that you can imagine owing contractors since 2015. We have met with the contractors, Cetraco, RCC, we met with them severally. So we also know their challenges. Unfortunately, they don't talk to press, so it's even difficult to really quote them. But we did all that, and then fortunately, this money has been returned, and the ministry is meeting with the contractors with a view at getting back to site to start the road. Now, that is one. During the presidential the democracy speech, the president also mentioned this issue of the East-West Road, which means that he's also listening, he's also reading, and also gave a timeline for the completion of the road in 2021. This has never happened. Nobody has ever set a timeline for the completion of that road, which means he understands the importance and the need for that road to be completed. But again, how do you surmount the challenges in terms of funding, budgetary provisions? So we have actually, the other day, written to Mr. President and asking for him to go beyond requesting, giving a timeline. He should, if possible, set a special intervention funding program that will ensure that the funds needed for the completion of this road is there. It doesn't, it not, the contractors don't need to wait for years again to get payment for any milestone. That's one. Two, just recently we had a case of the gridlock in around the Indiama axis of the road. If you're going to Bayelsa, trucks were sleeping for days, weeks, no access, because that section of the road had gone bad. And we got in touch with the minister again. We alerted him, and he immediately before us called the attention of Cetraco and asked them to move the next day, which they did, and also ordered, I think, the Niger Delta, the MD, to release the funds that will be needed for at least emergency repairs on that road. And as I speak to you, my team went to that road, showcased the state of the road. 1 week after, if you see the pictures, my people were there 2 days ago, it's a different sight to behold. The road is being attended to, and the gridlock has disappeared. So it's also part of our success story. We also have a situation where on NTA Road in Port Harcourt, at the location junction, when it was so bad, so terribly bad, we had to draw the attention of the state government, River State government, and within a short period, they sent the maintenance unit to go and, in fact, the governor went ahead to set up a road maintenance agency just because of our reports, and then they fixed that section of the road. We also have recorded successes, very many. We have been able to let even the people know that government has not neglected them. It has not abandoned them. The only problem is that there are challenges. We're able to alert the people, the government, the minister, that there are two big major hospitals that have been left uncompleted since 2017. An orthopedic hospital and a cardiovascular hospital in Port Harcourt. And unfortunately, the black suit has covered that area. We are also addressing the issue of the black suit. We have written the Minister for Environment. We hope to meet with him, and we are asking that they should intervene because of the black suit. Otherwise, those two hospitals will be condemned. We have also made tremendous impact in so many other states. We have alerted them. In fact, it was during the breakdown of the pandemic, the coronavirus thing, we wrote and asked that the Minister for Niger Delta, alongside the NDDC, should intervene to ensure that the Niger Delta people are also protected. And I can tell you, some weeks after that, we saw a response from them, requesting for COVID-19 palliatives and other equipment. So, and the minister was able to also write the president, who graciously approved the sum of 6.2 billion, for the provision of PCR equipment. As I speak to you, the NDDC has delivered 54 PCR machines for massive testing of Niger Delta people. It is 54 because it's expected that out of the 20, in all the 27 senatorial zones in the 9 Niger Delta states, there will be 2 testing machines. Now, the NCDC has taken delivery of those machines because they say it's their responsibility to install and man. So we are still waiting. When we wait and we don't see any response, we will move to NCDC to find out why they are not doing the needful. And then they also acquired about 27 ventilators, one for each senatorial zone, and then other palliatives, and for the very vulnerable in our society. It's not for every one of us. There are people whose cases are really bad. And then at least it shows that they also responded to our call for intervention. And we are not stopping there. We want to make sure that all the states that have received, all the governors that have received this equipment, begin to put them to use. We want to embark from next week, hopefully. We want to, while maintaining social distancing, we want to begin to visit the state governors and the state governments to find out if they have started using this equipment. So basically, our advocacy is also yielding results. We may not be that noisy, but the truth of the matter is that those who follow us are happy with what we are doing so far.
Yeah.
And
Thank you very much.
I want to also add this. The issue of
Okay.
Queenstown in Opobo, we had to cross the high sea to visit Opobo. That's my maternal hometown, incidentally. We went there and we saw, because of the issue of the embankment on the sea, there's heavy flooding into the community. If the community is under the threat of being submerged if nothing is done to rescue. Unfortunately, we have not really gotten results, but as I speak to you, we have gathered documents and evidence from the community, from the Royal Majesty, and we are presenting that in our meeting with the Minister for Environment to see if there's something they can do to rescue the community. We've also been to Oby Ndukwe, the landlords of Shell in Port Harcourt, and the community is also under the threat of being submerged. We have also made the reports, and I think Shell and the rest of them also. Okay, so it's not very easy. Sometimes you get very cold shoulders from some of these MDAs, even the state governments. It's not easy, but we are not relenting. We are pushing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And I must commend your organization for all the advocacy and for always seeking for the truth on behalf of the Nigerian people, most especially the Niger Delta. Now, as a seasoned media professional and a canvasser of good governance in Nigeria, what can you say about Nigerians' leadership style and its effect on the people?
Well, that's a topic that has been that's crossed my mind the past few days lately. I'm asking myself whether we are actually getting it right. In terms of providing good leadership. Well, there are persons who actually mean well. There are some persons in government who actually mean well, but unfortunately, the majority still do not understand. It's about me, myself, and I, for my generations unborn, let me save enough money and all that. So some persons who are given responsibilities do not really care about the people. They don't really care about the city. But it's a system thing, and it's endemic. I can tell you, it's endemic. And I know that even Mr. President, when he came, when the reason why it was easy for him to defeat an incumbent was because the people were tired. People wanted a change. But like I told our people, the expectation is very high. People don't understand that change doesn't come easy. For those of us who are Christians, we know that even when the children of Israel were leaving Egypt, at some point they began to grumble against Moses because they were no longer eating the kind of food they were eating in Egypt, the kind of things they enjoyed. So they opted to go back. And I can tell you that that's the situation here. The change movement is not easy. A lot of people are falling out in the wilderness. A lot of people are getting the solution because they thought that change is something that will just come and everywhere will begin to be like Rome. They're forgetting that Rome was not built in a day. And like I said, I always say it's your fundamental human right is concomitant to your fundamental human duty. We the citizens have our duty. Those elected and appointed also have a responsibility. Even if the president means well and is doing well, what of those in the corridors of power with him? Do they have the same mindset? Do they have the same ideology? A lot of times, one person might have an ideology, but he surrounds himself with people who come with different ideologies. There's this craze for power. People want to take over even when the incumbent has not served his tenure. So because of that, every decision they take is geared towards their own ambition. A situation where even when contracts are awarded, it's awarded to people they think can help them tomorrow to become, not people who can actually deliver. So it's a third world problem. It's unfortunate that Nigeria is still lagging behind in terms of leadership. And that's part of the reason why we came up with the idea of Citizens Quest. It's actually for us to train leaders that by the time the younger ones, by the time they get to positions, even where some of us miss those opportunities, they can also do things right, because we just need to change. I think we need to even, unfortunately, the NOA and the rest of them are not doing enough, if you ask me, because we need to change the attitudinal change of Nigerians, the people that are governed, the way they also respond. You see a situation, government fixes a road, puts drainages, and in less than some months, the drainages are blocked because people are drinking pure water and mineral and all that, and throwing the refuse all over. People are not ready to even clean their environment. On sanitation days, they sleep at home or they play football and all that. So the citizens need also to change their attitude. Then, while the people also governing also need to understand that we have no other country, even our children and children's children, even, you may be piling up money for them, and something happens, and by the time the next generation comes, they are not able to access the money, so they will also begin to suffer like the rest. So the idea of people thinking that I want to make enough, for my children, we need to, get our minds off all that. We are living for today, not for tomorrow. So I think that so far it's not yet uhuru in terms of leadership and governance. A lot of people, I give you an example, the APC change government. The truth of the matter is that there were so many people who did not understand the change mantra. They didn't understand what Buhari wanted to do. So some of them just came into the party, used it as a vehicle to move up to whatever, maybe to the National Assembly or to become ministers or even governors. So because of that, there's a kind of rivalry between the good and the bad. And I can tell you that the bad probably is weighing 70 kg, while the good is weighing 30 kg. But I think that if we, the younger generation, become passionate about our country and begin to do things right, we may get it right in the next, in future as we move on. In fact, there's a need for this present government to ensure that the transition to the next government, the things that they couldn't achieve, they have to bring in people who will be passionate. Because if you bring somebody who's not passionate, he destroys even your legacies, the things you have done, and we have to start all over. It becomes a circus. So that's the major challenge that we are facing as a country. Is a leadership is a fundamental problem in our nation, a fundamental problem.
All right. Talking about accountability and good governance, what is your general assessment on our leaders in the country and Niger Delta in particular?
Oh, accountability, governance.
Yeah.
Who is going to confirm if the people, who is going to make them accountable? It's only the laws, and the laws are not even being implemented. We have a situation where the third arm of government, the judiciary, has become a clog in the wheel of progress. And that's the reason why people are not bothered about being accountable, knowing that they could use whatever money they have made to buy themselves injunctions, buy themselves court orders, stopping whatever. Look at what happened the other day at the National Assembly. You are investigating, you're probing a minister, a federal government policy to recruit people, for the COVID-19 period, peanuts that they are going to be paid. And it was a rowdy session because some persons in the National Assembly who have constituted themselves as a power bloc felt that they were not carried along. And I'm asking, what is it about 20,000 naira going to be paid to each person? Is that even enough? Is that enough what they want to give to their constituents? So why do they bother? They have provisions made for them for constituency projects and all that, which from there they can help their communities and their constituencies. But unfortunately, we play politics. And you see the minister struggling, saying, look, I want to speak. They said, no, let's go inside. Let's go and have a closed door session. I said, no, you made the allegation in public. So I will need to also speak in public and let Nigerians know the truth. You don't investigate corruption behind closed doors. We have had series of cases where ministers from the executive arm of government are being harassed, intimidated, humiliated when they appear before these ad hoc probe panels. It shouldn't be so. It shouldn't be so. We should be able to hear from them. Let them unveil whatever they want to unveil. Let the National Assembly also expose whoever that needs to be exposed, as long as they have their facts and figure. So unfortunately, we have not been able to get it right. Now, for the Niger Delta, like you said, if you look at what has happened in the NDDC in the past 20 years since its creation, you will shed tears. Allegations and counter allegations. We have been able to also see some of the documents, the records, and me particularly, I was shocked at the volume of money. A situation where NGOs are paid money, and you see a particular NGO having about 10 slots at 49 million naira each. That's about 490 million. An NGO. Meanwhile, we have thousands of NGOs that could have benefited. So the question, how? So how do you even develop, how do you show accountability when, or transparency, when you are in closed doors, awarding these monies to cronies, to family members, who are doing nothing? We as a group, Citizens Quest, since we began, we have not received a dime from, not even by way of grants, not even by way of support from any agency of government. It is our own sweat, our own struggle. Nobody has included, we have not been included in any payments to any NGOs or grants or support to NGOs. We hope to get there because by law, we have the right to receive support. It's not out of place. And what I'm saying is that there's nothing wrong with supporting NGOs, but there's everything wrong with supporting NGOs who are doing nothing. You can't list NGOs and say, oh, they are training women for this. And we don't see any such program. It's only for people to share money. We don't see empowerment. They say they are empowering people. We don't see such. Sometimes empowerment is just laptop of 56,000. And then you take home lots of naira. Sometimes they take this money and give peanuts to the youth, because the youths always settle for less, for the crumbs. Why? They are ignorant, they are poor, they are hungry. So whatever comes, they can't access power. So whatever comes, they take it without asking questions, without making demands. But it gets to a point where the agitation becomes, more than expected, because somebody now opens their eyes to the truth and tells them that, look, this person that is giving you this is only giving you peanuts compared to what you're supposed to get. It's your right, it's your entitlement. Sometimes, and what we have seen NDDC doing in the past couple of days, they have published even names of contractors who have received payments. For instance, under the interim management committee, the figure is there, the bank is there, the date is there. And then the question is we're asking, if these monies have been paid to contractors within this short period of the IMC, why is it not translating into something, in the region? Who are these contractors? We found out that 70% of them are not even from the Niger Delta region. People come from all over the country and to make demands and get this money, and when they go, they take it back and put it in their pockets, in their banks, and the people are left with nothing. And I tell you, because the system is such that the Niger Delta people have been so caged that they go cap in hand begging. So for you to get approval, for you to get your budget approval, you need to also make some concessions. And in making those concessions, you are mortgaging the future of the people. You are denying the people access to quality life, access to good roads, water, and the rest of them. And if you don't, they blackmail you. If you don't, they summon you. And when they summon you, they embarrass you. They trend stories against you and dish out figures that are neither here nor there. So that is the fate of the Niger Delta man. And because of that, very many officials from the region succumb to this pressure, because you don't want harassment, you just want something lifeline. But 20 years after, like I said, the siege is over. The president has decided to look into the books, and he has asked for a forensic audit to be conducted. And then people are agitating. The governors of the NDDC state requested that from Mr. President when they visited. And the president said, okay, let's not just look at a 1 year or 2 year period. Let us look at 20 years. Let it be holistic. And forensic auditors, the advert was there. I personally saw the advert, asking people to tender for the consultancy. And forensic auditors, lead consultants, and the rest of them applied, and they got the state, and they commenced. And the outcry is something else. And you're surprised that those who ought to be calling for a thorough investigation of the books of the NDDC, let us even know whether these monies that they are claiming has been given to NDDC is true. Because I personally believe that the figures are not right. But in any case, whatever the figure may be, let us also find out whether it is commensurate with what we are seeing on ground in the Niger Delta. Now, unfortunately, the thing has generated so much furor because the president has insisted. Fortunately, he has reasserted his conviction that the forensic audit must go on. And so we are waiting. Let us know where we got it right. It's not just about punishing people. Of course, it's going to be part of that. Those who collected monies for jobs not executed will be forced to return this money. Now those, and then we also find out if truly the federal government has been sincere in making sure that this region is developed, have they actually lived up to the expectations of giving releasing the funds as according to the act as established? We also find that if the oil companies are also doing the needful. So that's what the forensic audit will help us to do. But unfortunately, those whose responsibility it is, to perform the oversight function are the ones who are crying more. They are the ones who are fighting. And we have a minister who says, whatever the president has ordered is what we are going to do. And like we are saying, even the commission that has been paying rent, a phantom rent of 300 billion every year for some years. And I'm aware that when Dr. Peter, the former governor of Rivers State, got the headquarters to Port Harcourt, he donated that building, Harold Brie's complex. He donated it free. And incidentally, somebody along the line started collecting 300 million as rent every year. And there was no time the Rivers State government decided on that decision. So the question is, who has been collecting this money? Why has somebody been paying this money? For what reason? And so we need to unveil, we need to investigate. But unfortunately, all hell is being let loose. But we are getting there gradually. We're getting there.
All right. What advice would you give to the citizens of Nigeria in respect to holding their leaders accountable?
How do you hold leaders accountable when you depend on the same leaders? I want to be real. I'm a realist. I don't believe in an ideal situation, maybe because of my background in chemistry. Because in the laboratory, you're told there's an ideal situation, there's a real situation. Even in economics, they say ceteris paribus, all things being equal. So it's not every theory that comes out well. You have to make sure that all things are equal. You have the needed environment. You plant a crop. If you have the needed this thing, it will grow well. If you don't have it, will not grow. So how do people hold leaders accountable? How? When they depend on these leaders for survival. Businesses are no longer thriving. Graduates are roaming all over. Graduates have become social media influencers who depend on money for data just to be alive. And then suddenly you see a leader who is given an appointment. What do you want to probe him for? When he's the one that can give you a lifeline, if at least he can pay your rent or your children's school fees. That is the truth of the matter. And that's why Nigerians are not demanding. Not even the advocacy groups, like the rights groups and the rest of them. Many of them have also, succumbed because they also need money to do their advocacy. Do you get the point? So it's not easy to demand for accountability or transparency. It's not easy because you are depending, just like saying independent electoral commission. Yeah, they get their funds from the federal government. How independent can they be? Or state independent electoral commission, they get their funding appointments from the state governors. So how independent can they be? We need to an amendment in our laws. There are things that need to change so that we have some measure of independence. Now that people are not independent, I'm depending on you to survive. How do I question you about what you are doing? It will not work.
mm,
Let's not deceive ourselves. Nobody will do that. Nobody will do that, except we begin to imbibe that consciousness as Nigerians that we have no other country.
mm,
The pandemic has taught us a lesson that we have no other
yeah,
country but ours. You can get Medicare overseas in a pandemic. You will rely on whatever the NCDC will provide, the isolation centers. You will live in the same hospitals with the poor people that you have despised over the years and denied right
mm,
good life. You will live with them until
mm,
you get well. So until that consciousness is imbibed enough for us to know that, look, if I'm appointed minister for health, I need to begin to make demands to see that we overhaul the health sector. If I'm
mm,
appointed minister for education, we need to get it right. It may not, there will be resistance by those who have been entrenched in the system for a very long time. Let me go back to
yeah,
NDDC a bit. We also find that
mm,
in the course of our investigation and advocacy, that some persons have been staff of that place for 28 years. They've never gone on
mm,
leave. Yeah, they've never gone
wow,
on leave. So when the new management came and said, look, based on the report of EFCC, because EFCC is also part of the forensic audit, they submitted reports against some of those senior staff, and then sent to the forensic auditors. The forensic auditors said to IMC, look, we need some of these directors to be moved out from the headquarters so that we can access the records, the files. There was agitation. There was resistance. They started sponsoring all manner of youth groups against the
mm,
IMC, turning out figures and lies. Unfortunately, these youth groups don't even have any access to information to know whether what they are being told is the truth. They take up placards,
mm,
they begin to sing songs, they begin to churn out advertorials in newspapers and all that. The reason is because somebody doesn't want access to it. For 28 years, you have never gone on leave
mm,
and you have been asked to go on mandatory leave and you are kicking. Why are you kicking?
mm,
If you are sincere, why are you kicking? We have seen a situation where the MD of NDDC, for the MD to move, he has to hire an SUV from the pool of vehicles in NDDC owned by
mm,
directors. Some of them own up to 10.
mm,
And each SUV a day is 200,000 naira. Yes.
mm,
They don't, NDDC does not have its own fleet of cars. They don't. It was only recently that the president approved 1.6 billion for them to purchase about 62 cars. That's the type of
mm,
thing that we see. So it is very difficult. And now these boys that hang around, mill around NDDC depend on these directors. Some of them are not from the region.
mm,
The richest member of staff in NDDC is from the north, somewhere in the north. I think Kebbi State or so. He's been there for 28 years. He's overloaded. When I saw the report from EFCC, his investments, his companies that he uses to do jobs in NDDC and all that, over 300 of them, companies.
mm,
He's the richest. The least car he drives is about 80 million naira. And so, what are you talking about? And the people from the region who you expect to demand for accountability are getting peanuts and crumbs from him. How do they challenge him? Because they don't even have this information. And even if they do, they are hungry. So they can't even ask questions. We are asking questions because some of us have gotten to a point in life where we have seen it all. Personally, I don't need all that. I've seen it all, the good, the bad, and the
mm,
ugly. I've been up, I've been down, I've been hungry, I've been, wealthy. So I know. So nothing matters to me anymore. And I say, look, we need to get it right. Even if it's not for me, for our children and for our children's children.
mm,
We need to be on the side of history. We have been on the other side. We got it wrong. We supported politicians. We did all that. Why? Because we were depending totally on them. Now, some of us have had a taste of these things and seen that it's all vanity. That nothing will be better than having the freedom I enjoy in Nigeria. I don't enjoy when I travel overseas. So I have a
mm,
responsibility to make my country work. People are dying. What we are giving, the therapy we are giving to people today for anti-COVID-19, this thing is from Nigeria, from Africa. The herbs, the garlic, the what do you call it, ginger. the shea butter, they are all from here. So if we make it right, the international community, the Western world will depend on Africa for everything. And so why are we the ones stopping it? Like I said, poverty is a major issue. So people will never demand for accountability. Don't expect that. Don't.
All right, thank you. Let's quickly talk about the Niger Delta again. The NDCC has been created many years with a core mandate.
Mm.
Uh, the commission has been, what has the commission able to achieve since its creation?
Well, I'm not. I'm not a consultant with NDDC. I'm not their spokesperson. I'm not the. They have their corporate affairs department. They have consultants that are being paid to launder their image. What we are doing is to verify the claims and the allegations to know if what they say they have done is true, and then also the allegations being leveled against them whether they are true to an extent. That's what we are doing, and we bring it out and we draw their attention and we say to them, look, we know that this is going on and we need you to correct it. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't listen. But whether they listen or not, the important thing is that we put it in public domain because we'll be vindicated at the end of the day. So in terms of what they have achieved, that's why the forensic audit is important. Let us even know whether the praises we sing, whether the claims we lay are true. Let us put it side by side with the monies that they have received and then see whether it's commensurate, you know, um, uh, with what they have received. I won't stay here and tell you NDDC has done well, and I will not also stay here and condemn them totally because I tell you, if there's anything we achieved in setting up the NDDC, it is coming down the youth restiveness that has reduced to the barest minimum. You too can testify. I mean, you know how bad it was the days of Obasanjo and the rest of them. So but now even the youths have their eyes open. They have gone beyond the creeks. They have been lived in Abuja. They've been to Lagos and other places. They've seen life from a different perspective. So they are also saying, well, let us be partners in progress with government. Let us not keep fighting. But that is not to say that the injustice and inequality in the region and it's not there. It has not been totally eradicated. So I think that in terms of youth restiveness, the NDDC has actually delivered. But there's a master plan. Like the first pioneer chairman Onyema said recently, the master plan ought to have ended in 2015, and there's something new, should have come up. But all that had been abandoned. So now it's part of what the forensic audit will find out. Why is it that the master plan was not followed to the letter? And then when they find out, they make their recommendations what should be. We may probably have an overhauled NDDC. Like I always say, from the security man to the man at the top, we need to overhaul. We need to move them to other. This are probably devise a means of not having the same people serve there for more than a period of time. Because when you stay too long in a place, you become part of the problem. So I can't say exactly that they have done well or they've not done well, but I can tell you that okay, during the era of so they were able to achieve this. We have pictures, we have video clips to show what was obtainable. Like I said, from the period of Brambaefa, that's when we started our advocacy. So we saw quite some roads that were fixed and rehabilitated. We also saw but unfortunately politics and unnecessary rivalry wouldn't allow them to work. I'm one of those who are of the view where I hope that my group, Citizens Quest, when I'm going to make a presentation at the National Assembly, there's going to be a public hearing. We want to also advocate that one of the ways to handle this problem is to ensure that the funding of the commission is not attached to whatever processes that hinder the provisions of the budget. A situation where the NDDC says we want to build 10-kilometer roads, dual carriageways in all the states, and when the budget returns, it's slashed from what the provisions to something peanuts. We want to build 3 mega hospitals in 3 states for 10 billion, and when the budget returns, a paltry 100 million is allocated for 3 states. That's an insult to Niger Delta people. I expect the people of Niger Delta, the leaders of the region, I expect them to come together and fight this. People cannot sit in their office and make out this injustice on our people. We don't have, since the inception of NDDC, we do not have a 10-kilometer road dualized in any state. And the people are playing. And the people are subservient to people from other regions. And some persons are busy ripping off the region, making money, even some Niger Delta sons. And then the other leaders are watching, probably because he's not a political party, probably he's not in my camp, so I don't want to talk. No, we have to put the past behind us and begin to come together and synergize. No matter what your ambition is, you want to be president, you want to be what, that it's immaterial. The important thing is Niger Delta first. We are going to begin that advocacy. Niger Delta first for the people of the region. If we get to the northeast, if we go to the northwest, if we get to the southwest, whatever we think is their challenge, we'll also begin to do that advocacy in that region. We are not limited to the Niger Delta anyway. But what I'm saying is that it's a shame that people are sleeping and the region is being harassed, ravaged, violated, raped, murdered by some sons of the region in active connivance with outsiders. And nobody's talking. Just because I don't like Joshua, I'm not going to speak. Joshua is sympathy A, I'm in party B. Even if Joshua is saying the right thing, I will support him. That's nonsense. Thank God that the issue of Keyamo, this party had with the National Assembly the other day, has brought people of the same political parties together, saying no. Even PDP, even members of PDP are saying no. Incidentally, Keyamo comes from the ruling party APC, and he's being harassed by APC senators, lawmakers, over something that the president has approved for the masses. Not that there is any wrong done, but you want a situation where he presents it and you hijack it and take 70% of it and then leave 30% for the masses. So these are the issues. Until the people begin to come together to say, let us bridge the gap, we need to make the Niger Delta a region that people will be proud of. I will be proud when I go to Poland to say I'm from Niger Delta, anywhere part of the world. Not when you go to, you travel overseas and mention you're from Niger Delta, even your passport, the officials there begin to, turn to say, who is this? Are you sure it's not violent? Are you sure it's not corrupt? We need to begin to change that mindset where we believe that every leader from the region is corrupt. That is not the truth. There may be challenges. There may be a few ones. There may be some mistakes, but these things can be corrected. If we begin to, do we expect the president who is from the north to begin to do this for us? No. I expect that the leaders should say, no, enough is enough. Let's come together and see what we can do to develop our region and make it the pride of this nation. So that's it.
All right. And finally, what's your assessment, your rating of Buhari's administration?
Well, like I said, I think that there was so much expectations, when he was coming because of what we were told when we were small, younger, about President Buhari being a no-nonsense man. In fact, a lot of things, the myth around him was such that people were scared when he was coming. But we have just realized that he's not as wicked or as mean as people made him to look like. He also had, I believe that he meant well. Unfortunately, when you get to a certain age, certain things begin to also reduce. Secondly, I think his health also affected what he would have achieved by now. But we thank God that he recovered and he's able to do the much he's doing. And those who are passionate about what he's doing are also doing. In some sectors, he has done well. You have the transportation sector. He's gotten a minister who is doing so well. Chibike Rotimi, which is doing so well. Building the railways, the maritime sector is doing well. We've seen Fashola also doing well. But there are some sectors we are still not yet there. The power sector, we are not yet there. I think sports, youth development, we're still not yet there. Women development, I'm not sure we are still there. I don't want to begin to judge, but I want to tell you that it's not yet, what we expect. We believe that I think and I suggest that they should eschew whatever rivalry for 2023 and focus on their jobs. If they do, we have 2 years down the drain before the elections. We can achieve quite a lot, so that's it. Hopefully, particularly for the Niger Delta, with what he has said, if he allows Akpabio, if he tells them to allow him to work, we can achieve so much even within before the exit of this administration.
All right. Thank you very much, Chief Oby Ndukwe, for joining us. And I must be honest with you, your organization has really done well. And from all you have said, it really shows that you are really the advocate of good governance in the country. And we hope to have you some other time on this program so that we can discuss more.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful. I'm ever ready to
All right.
appear once you call me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. See,
Yeah.
we get you over to the show again some other time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.